So one of the books that my wife and I read was really good. It was called How to House Hack by Craig Kurlop. And it basically explained the concept of buying either a single family house or a duplex and then renting out the other side. And so while you're living there, your tenant or the people that live with you are paying your mortgage for you. And whether they pay the whole thing or part of it, it just is a really good way to lessen one of the biggest expenses that most people face, which is housing. And so that was one of the things that got us started into the real estate journey. The other really good resource that we used for learning about those sorts of things was called Bigger Pockets. And that's a podcast and a website and platform where they talk about all the different types of real estate investing.
Walk me through it. I don't own any real estate, but it's a goal for mine for similar reasons that you've outlined. But what did that look like? Like, how long did it take when you bought your first property? How long were you renting it out? And then what was the growth like?
Yeah, I bought my first property in 2019. So I was probably 24 years old, right after I started my accounting job. I bought a duplex in Spokane, Washington. And basically what that looked like was I got an FHA, first time homeowners loan. I don't think that's what FHA stands for, but it was the first time homeowners loan where you could put a low percentage down, like 3% of the purchase price down, and then be able to move into the house. And so since it was a duplex, it's one structure, but it has two separate entrances, or basically two different places to live. And so what we did was we ended up living in one side and fixing up that side when we lived in it. And then the other side we rented out to some tenants. And so we lived there for a year. And then by the end of the year, we ended up buying another place and did the same thing there. It was a duplex, lived in half, rented out half, fixed up the side that we were in while we lived there. And then about a calendar year later, we moved from Washington State to Florida. So my wife and I moved down to Florida and we did it again there. We bought another duplex, lived in half, rented out half, and we lived there for a year. And then we ended up moving back to Washington State and bought a single family home where it was just the two of us until we had our daughter. So we built a good foundation. It took about 1 year to basically get it sufficient, rolling. And then based on the loans that we had to live there for a year. And so we fulfilled that obligation. And the really great thing about real estate is the first one, you just kind of have to jump into it. Same thing with anything in life. You just go for it. You'll figure out along the way. It ends up working out. And then the next one or two or three or however many you buy, it really snowball effects. So since we moved out of each side of the duplex, we were able to rent those sides out. And so instead of one set of income coming from a house, it was two sets of income coming from one house or mortgage payment that we had to make. So it's a really good way to get ahead and create that passive income. Also, the appreciation over the last 5 years in each of those places has been pretty substantial with inflation and whatnot. So that's another really good way of building wealth. And then lastly, a really great thing about real estate as well is our tax write-offs. There are a lot of tax write-offs that you can have, and so everyone has to pay taxes. And if there are certain write-offs that you can do, it's a really beneficial way to pay less in tax legally.